Hi, I'm David Penn, research analyst with Finovate. We're here at Finovate Europe 2022 in London. And joining me is my guest, Zilvinas Bareisis. He is the head of retail banking with Celent. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks very much for having me, David.
Sure. So let's go ahead and start at the top. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the work you do with Celent?
Sure. So I'm Zilvinas Bareisis. I head up the retail banking team here at Celent, and we are an industry research and advisory firm. So we work with financial institutions, the technology and service providers, and what we do is basically help them make the right technology decisions. So we talk to a lot of people in the industry, we research the market, and we produce research reports and other data for them to engage with us and to get that information from us.
Yeah, very interesting. Now, you're going to be part of our Investor All-Star session a little later on today, and you're going to be looking at banking priorities in 2022. Could you give us a little preview of what you're going to be looking at?
Absolutely. It's something we look at every year. We try to sort of go back and look at what we've been talking to our clients about, looking into the future as well, what we think the priorities should be. So this year we've organized those ideas around five big themes. Some of them are the perennials, things like engaging with customers, right? Customer engagement, how do you optimize that? How do you make things digital, but also supported with human interaction as necessary? What do you do with your physical channels? How do you make sure that is in the optimal way? There's a lot of change happening in things like payments and lending. These are big research areas for us as well. So how do you embrace those disruptive imperatives there? Products like buy now, pay later, or what's happening with the payments back office, at what point and how do you decide to modernize that? Then it's about embracing the open ecosystem. That's a really big topic right now, from things like open banking to big popular terms like embedded finance now. In general, how do you innovate around products and how do you differentiate yourself? Banks are starting to talk about the purpose that they have. How do they embrace the different communities that they might be serving, and how they kind of tailor the products to those communities. Even things like crypto. 12 months ago, I didn't think retail banks should be interested in crypto, and here we are talking about that now. And the final big theme for us is basically to support the first four. What you really need to have is clearly the right set of technology tools, and those are also diversifying in terms of it's easier now to have composable building blocks that might be coming from different parties. Platforms like low code, no code, something that doesn't require that much IT capability. Business users can start developing applications, and of course cloud. Cloud is really big, and a lot of our clients are looking what and how to migrate to cloud and how fast.
Yeah, interesting. You mentioned quite a few things of note. It's going to be a very interesting panel, but one of the things I wanted to highlight was embedded finance. It's one of the many popular things that's going on in financial industry, and certainly here at Finovate. Could you talk a little bit about the boom in embedded finance? Sort of how did we get here? Why is it such an important thing?
Well, at the heart of embedded finance is really this idea that customers are out there doing their own things, and it's as they do those things, they realize that there might be a need for financial services product, which is something that they can acquire right there and then. And the idea itself is not new. You and I probably bought car insurance at the time when we bought our cars at the car dealers, right? Okay. What's changing now, I think, is the fact that there are really nice and big sophisticated digital experiences, first of all. And it's easier now for financial services to plug into those digital experiences because we now have the technology. The technology is catching up.
Right.
Things like APIs and breaking down the monolithic stack into as a service, or being able to deliver that as a service. So, embedded finance for us is basically the new way for banks to find their customers, engage with their customers, and reach to customers that perhaps they wouldn't have been able to in the past.
Absolutely. It's a really exciting component of banking that we're really seeing coming more and more to the fore. And it'll be very interesting to see how that continues to develop. One of the things I wanted to say, maybe by wrapping up the finish, what are some of the technology, either trends or some of the things that are coming around the corner that you think that banks in general, fintechs, should sort of really keep their eye on? You mentioned a number of different things, but are there any that really you think that folks really want to keep an eye on over the next, say, year or two?
Also, things like embedded finance will continue to play out. We're nowhere near done with that the whole phenomenon. I think the whole idea of open finance will continue to develop. Other things like I mentioned crypto briefly, but crypto is a broad space. There's stable coins, there's central bank digital currencies. Again, there's a lot of excitement around that. Central banks are looking at it very carefully. And, it's something that banks should keep an eye on as well. And then even just the conversations I've been having earlier this morning at the show, so many people are interested in metaverse. How is that going to develop? The whole alternative reality, and will that become an interesting channel for banking? It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. I really appreciate the point that you made that at one time you weren't necessarily convinced that crypto is important, and that's something that's come to the fore. I suspect a lot of people will make a similar journey when it comes to the metaverse, not seeing the applications, but then down the line, all of a sudden, here we are. So very interesting stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, very nice talking with you. We appreciate it. Looking forward to that investor panel and hearing you elaborate more on some of these topics.
Thanks very much, David.
Thank you very much for joining us. Yes. And thank you for joining us as well.